it is time to do what you do best, which is adjust patients and run your
Mhm.
business. And that's where you are going to make the most money. You're going to make the most money in the treatment room, and you're going to make the most money and bring in the most collections running your business. So you need to start outsourcing the things that you didn't go to school for.
Dr. Duncan says, if you want to know about business, health, and places to go, welcome to the show. Yeah, welcome to the show. If you know that you want to grow your business, your practice, and portfolio, welcome to the show.
Hello, and welcome to $1 Million Chiro, the podcast for chiropractic practice owners. I'm your host, Dr. Mary Frances Duncan, founder and CEO of Simply Southern Chiropractic Center in South Carolina. I'm a chiropractor by trade in an entrepreneur's body. I'm excited to guide you through this journey at the crossroads of chiropractic care and the art of successful practice management. If you haven't already, check out my website, milliondollarchiro.co, where you can access all of our previous podcasts, online courses, and gain more insight on one-on-one coaching with me. And don't forget to stay connected by following us on all social media platforms at $1 Million Chiro. You can listen to $1 Million Chiro, the podcast, on all popular streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Ultimately, if you enjoy what you're hearing, please hit that subscribe button and leave us a glowing 5-star review. Reviews allow us to hear from our listeners and what interests you. Now, let's get to the backbone of it all. Welcome, everybody, to today's episode, which is called Marketing Tips to Stop Making. This is going to be a 2-part podcast series with my executive assistant, Kelsey, and we are going to go over 7 marketing tips to stop making for your chiropractic clinic.
Thank you, Dr. Duncan, for having me on today. Again, Dr. Duncan and I work side by side when it comes to marketing, so I'm really excited to talk about this topic today. All right, so first, let's go ahead and break down all 7 tips that you should stop doing. So, number 1 is stop doing the marketing yourself. Number 2 is stop doing health fairs. Number 3 is stop marketing in the health and wellness arenas. Number 4 is stop forgetting about the long game. Number 5 is stop assuming that your following correlates with your business success. Number 6 is stop forgetting to brand you. And number 7 is stop using stock photos on your website and use a local lifestyle photographer. So ultimately, when it all comes down to is you are a chiropractor first. You need to focus on what you do best. But you are also required to consider marketing right now in this day and age. So you have to stay current with your marketing and you have to stay up to date with who you are and what you want to promote as your brand in front of the audience that you want to present in front of. So let's go ahead and just start with the very first tip, Dr. Duncan, and just kind of go ahead and explain to us why you should not be doing the marketing yourself.
Yes, so this is a great place to start. So Kelsey hit the nail on the head when she said, in this day and age, in 2024, we have to do marketing as chiropractic clinics.
Mm.
We have to do heavy digital marketing, and then I also think it's a good idea to do grassroots marketing too. But people are going to find you online, they're going to search for you on Google, they're going to verify you by checking out your social media page and your website, and you've got to first of all, you have to have these things, and second of all, you've got to put some time into these things, and you've got to have a great digital and social media presence. So, number 1 of marketing tips to stop making is stop doing especially the digital and social marketing yourself.
Mm.
So I understand when you're first out of school, say you're opening a clinic or you're opening a clinic for the first time, no matter where you are, in practice in your career, you are probably going to have to do a lot of your social media on your own.
Mhm.
You're going to have to do your marketing on your own. You're going to have to set up your Google page on your own. I understand it. You don't have any money to start with and you have to start somewhere. I get that. But I am speaking to the clinics that have been around for a while. You have made some collections, you've made some revenue, and it is time to do what you do best, which is adjust patients and run your business.
Mhm.
And that's where you are going to make the most money. You're going to make the most money in the treatment room, and you're going to make the most money and bring in the most collections running your business. So you need to start outsourcing the things that you didn't go to school for. And marketing is a big part of that. And so I did not go to school to market. I did not go to school to film reels and TikToks and study social media strategy and SEO strategy. I did not go to school for those things. And so I have outsourced those and I suggest that you do as well. They take up so much time and social media algorithms and Google algorithms, they change so frequently. You have to keep a pulse on that. And that's very hard to do when you're trying to run a business. You're trying to make sure that you have new business coming in so that you can pay your employees so that they can put food on their table for their families. You've got a lot of responsibility. And if you can outsource the marketing, you really need to do that. And so there's a book that I really like. It's called, well, there's two books. One book is Who Not How. I think that one's by Dan Sullivan. And the other book is Buy Back Your Time. I'm not sure who that one's by. But both of these books talk about you need to delegate your time as a business owner, and you need to delegate tasks that you are not the best at to other people that are the best at those things, because your return on investment for those things is going to be much higher than if you spent your time doing these things instead of being in the treatment room. So, for example, when I first started our practice, I made these little tags. We gave out chocolate chip cookies, and the tag said, do you have a chip on your shoulder? Come to Simply Southern Chiropractic Center and we can work it out. And we would fill these jars with chocolate chip cookies and then we would take them out, as little gifts. But I spent hours making those tags on back then on Microsoft Word. We didn't have Canva. And we still use those tags to this day because it took me so long to make those. But it took me hours to do that and to print that off and to cut those things up. And you can easily, you can pay a high school student to help you with that. And that is much more worth your time and resources. Like even have a team member do some of those tasks or just hire somebody to help you with marketing. I laugh when I say this because one of our doctors here now, Dr. Wright, I remember I had her go and she had to go give out those cookie jars. If you're listening, Dr. Wright, you're probably laughing right now. To local businesses. But I mean, that's part of grassroots marketing, which I still think is important in 2024. You've got to have much more of a digital presence, but we still do the grassroots marketing. But that's how I got a lot of business when I first started. And so, anyways, having somebody else do those, coming up with ideas for you, running your social media on digital platforms. And then if you have little graphic design projects, you don't need to be doing that as a chiropractor, especially number one, if you don't like it, and number two, if you're not good at it.
Right. So let's talk about number two, which is stop doing health fairs, which I think a lot of chiropractors are going to be really curious about this one.
Okay, so we love doing in-person events. Not a lot of people do them anymore after COVID, and I think it's a way to connect with people. It is you have when you create relationships with other people, those are going to be better patients when they come into your clinic. They're more likely going to start chiropractic treatment and stick with it because there's accountability there from a relationship that was created. So I do love in-person events, but I do not like health fairs and we have not been successful at them and I hate them. I hate them. I hate doing those events. And so I have had more success by going to individual businesses, schools, maybe a non-health fair event where there's not other healthcare vendors there, and being very organized. I don't like fairs in general, by the way. I like to go to places where it's planned out. We have time slots and a sign up sheet with people that want to come to our station and learn. We do posture screenings and mini massages so that we have time to spend with each person. We know who's going to show up. We know what snacks to provide and how much. And so with fairs in general, you don't know how many people are going to stop at your booth. Is anyone going to stop at your booth? Are you going to have enough supplies? And it's hard. I don't like doing this. And you have to have a really I'm an introverted person. I am an extroverted introvert. I can be extroverted if I need to, but my nature is to be is an introvert, but you have to have a very extroverted person to do marketing events for them to be successful. And I think you have to have somebody who is very confident in themselves to even more confident in themselves to do a health fair because you've got if you sit behind your table at a health fair, you're not going to be successful. People are going to walk by your table. You have to stand in front of your table, even though the rest of the vendors in that health fair may not be doing that. You have to stand in front of in front of your table. You have to speak to people. We talked about this in our staff meeting today. You have to make eye contact with people. You have to acknowledge their presence and you have to speak to them. You don't have to harass them like the people at the kiosk at the mall that are trying to sell you lotion or like some hot tool for your hair. But you have to be able to speak to people. And so that is really hard to find team members that have the confidence to do that at a fair in general. And then when you're at a health fair, specifically, you are competing with so many other vendors, and there are probably other chiropractors there. I don't do events where there are other chiropractors there. It's not worth our time. It's not worth our resources. I am very selective on that because you're usually having to pay for a sponsorship for these health fairs and all. And we're there. It's just the return on investment for these events is not very high. And if you don't put the right team member or person at that table, you have completely wasted your time and completely wasted your money. If you send somebody to a health fair from your clinic that sits behind the desk or sits behind the table, or if you as the chiropractor, I hope you're not going to these events because again, you need to outsource this because you can spend your time doing other things that bring in revenue. But even if you go as the chiropractor and are sitting behind that table because you're nervous or you're embarrassed or you're scared, you've wasted your time. You should have just gone swimming instead or go clean out your closet because it was just a total waste. And so I've learned with us, those events are not successful. Kelsey, you're great at events. You are a theater major. You are great with people. You are very secure in yourself. You've got a lot of confidence. You could do this event, but it takes the right person to be able to do those events. And to be very frank, just most people are too insecure and too scared to do them and to do a good job.
Right. I do benefit from the theater major aspect. I'm on stage consistently while a bunch of people that don't know me stare at me. So it does kind of break the ice a little bit that I don't have the fear of what are other people going to think about me because ultimately I probably won't ever see them again. So I like to think of it that way.
Yeah, and I just want to say this. Just think about this. For people that, if you ever are in a situation where you're at a health fair or an event, what's the worst somebody's going to say? They're going to tell you no.
No.
They're not going to physically assault you, or they
No.
shouldn't. They're not going to push you down. Like, they're probably not going to laugh at you. Like, they're just going to walk on by and just say no. Like,
Mhm.
what are you so scared of? They're not, what's going to happen here?
Right.
So there's not going to be any bodily harm
Yeah.
come for this, or you're only going to be embarrassed if you become embarrassed yourself. Like,
And I will say, all the events I've gone to so far, I think I've only ever been told blatantly no once. And I've been to plenty of events the last
and then
year.
you move on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you just move on. So I really love events. I love talking to people. I could talk to a wall. So
And people are so self-absorbed and interested in themselves. you there's no need to even be nervous or embarrassed. Like, people aren't even probably paying attention to you. You have to make sure that they pay attention to you. But they're not going to remember probably their interaction with you. So people, you got to get, if you are at an event or help, or you got to get over this.
You got to remove the seriousness, I
Yeah.
feel like, from I guess, the intimidation from it. You remove the intimidation when you remove the seriousness. It's not that serious.
Yes, but if you don't do health fairs, then you can sort of avoid this
Yeah.
altogether. And I suggest in its place, still like doing grassroots marketing and in-person marketing, go to you could go to an event maybe where there aren't vendors.
Right.
You could, and you are the one vendor, or you could go into individual businesses. That's very successful for us. Into a church, into a school where you're the only business that's there, and basically all the attention is on you, and you can give all the attention to the people that have signed up for whatever you have to offer.
Right. So, in the grand scheme of things, maybe stop doing the health fairs. And we're going to move on to tip number 3, which is stop marketing in health and wellness arenas. Now, Dr. Duncan, talk to us about the differences between what we just talked about and what we're about to talk about with the health and wellness arenas.
Yes. So in my experience, we do not do well marketing to health and wellness businesses. These are gyms, yoga studios, sports clubs, anything in the exercise, sports, health and wellness field. Now, I want to give a disclaimer here. We have a family practice, a general practice. If you have a sports clinic, you are going to have to market to this type of
This is your
specific.
market.
This is your market. But for us, we do not have great success with people that we meet at these places. CrossFit, when it was a really big thing, I did several events there, and the patients, to be frank, they didn't listen. They thought they could fix things themselves. They thought they knew what would help them, and they were divas, and they were very hard to work with. Same thing with really serious yogis, and I am totally stereotyping here. There are people that do listen, but they think they can fix their problems themselves. They think they are the professional. They think that they can get 3 or 4 adjustments and they're fixed, and they're so exhausting and so draining to work with. It's just not even worth our time. Which I am all for yoga. I'm all for lifting weights, exercising, going to the gym, playing sports. But I mean, in my experience, those are not our favorite patients. We like blue collar, white collar, working class people that their quality of life changes when they have chiropractic care. Everybody that has a spine can benefit from chiropractic care, but that's who we're going after in our clinic, and we've been very successful with that instead of niche health centric places. Man, and they don't. That's a waste of my time.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, everybody with a spine can benefit from chiropractic care, but when they're not taking the advice that you're giving them because they feel like they know better, then at that point it is a waste of your time.
Yeah, you go right ahead. You go right back to the CrossFit, or you go right back to weightlifting. You go herniate another disc or bulge one and blow one out. Okay. I hope you don't need back surgery this time.
Right, exactly. All right, so the last tip for part 1 of this episode is stop forgetting about the long game. And I feel like we, as on our marketing side of things, we really focusing on the long game. So Dr. Duncan, first, kind of talk us through what the long game is.
Okay, so this is a mind shift change.
Mhm.
I know I've been in this situation too, and I want to help you get out of this situation if you feel this way. I have coaching and an online course that helps with this. But when you need patients and when you need to grow your clinic and you feel desperate, sometimes you make desperate decisions. And I have been there. I have made decisions that were not smart. And yes, can you run a pay-per-click ad and put a bunch of money to it and get patients in your clinic today and tomorrow? Yes, you can. But are they going to be patients that stay in your clinic? Are they going to go into maintenance care? Maybe. But sometimes the short-term marketing tactics don't produce long-term chiropractic patients. So you can do the short term, immediate marketing things. You can boost posts on social media. You can do giveaways. You can do, um, uh, you can have an event in your office, right? But the long end game is making relationships in your community. And so let's stop there and talk about that. So we, for example, do a lot of events at schools. We have two districts where we live, school districts, where we try to hit up every school in those districts at least every other year. And when we go to these schools, we go in and we pamper the teachers and the staff. We do posture screenings, mini massages. We pay for everything. We provide everything. We bring tons of snacks. Each teacher has 15 minutes to themselves. Like, these are very well planned out. And so I tried to get into we're starting our 10th year of practice this year. It took me 4 or 5 years of trying and trying and trying to get into these schools to be able to get in, to doing the things that we do now. And once we were able to get into a school or two, we did a good job. They really enjoyed us being there. We made the setup really easy, for the administrators and the school. And so word started to spread that we do these events. And now we, are being asked by schools each year if we can come. And we love pampering our teachers. We love doing this. And so that was took a long time to foster those relationships and, to be able to do these events. And I'll say this, Kelsey, you go to these events. I'll tell our listeners on this podcast, when we do these events, we a lot of times do not get new patients that day. And when we go to the schools, we're able to brand ourselves, we're able to network. And then when these teachers have back pain or migraines or headaches or whatever we talk to them about in a year or so from now, we want them to remember us. And then that's when we get the call. And when we ask our new patients on the phone, how did you hear about us? These teachers will say, well, you guys came to our school 2 years ago, or, my wife, you came to her school at Christmas time and she told me about you. And so it we get a lot of patients from brand recognition, but it takes time, energy, years to have a footprint in the community like that. But not just schools, like, corporations, charity events. Like, you've got to do these things. And the first couple of times that we do these things, we're usually not successful. But it's consistency, going back, doing a good job, following up. This helps brand you in your community and get you patients over time. And those patients are typically wonderful patients. They're already bought into your brand by the time that they call you. It's not a cold call, from someone they found on the internet. They do visit your website, they do visit your social media pages, but that just validates what they already thought of you from the event that they met you at. So events they cost a lot. They cost a lot in time. It takes a lot of preparation and a lot of follow up. But if you plant seeds now, you will reap the benefits years down the road. Doing that long term marketing with some short term things is a great mix. So, that we talked about grassroots marketing. I also want to talk about SEO. SEO takes years. If you really start working on your SEO, working with a company, doing it yourself, which you shouldn't be, you should outsource that. From the day that you start SEO, it'll be a year minimum before you see any traction with SEO, with organic searches on Google and showing up on pages like that. It is a long game, and you have to put money towards it, a good amount of money towards it, and you have to keep up with it. And you're not going to reap the benefits of that for a long time. But we are in a digital age, and you might as well invest in that now, so that in the years to come, you've already got that SEO foundation sort of built.
Yeah, ultimately, both of these things really, I mean, it just takes time, and you have to play the game every single day. So, like Dr. Duncan said, with the events, um, we're very on ourselves about following up and following through because that's where you're going to find your patients, and that's who the people are going to come back to. Those people that they're like, oh, I remember this person, or oh, my grandpa threw his back out, so I need to call this chiropractor I remember seeing. And then same with SEO. I mean, we get to outsource SEO because we were very fortunate. And Dr. Duncan practices what she preaches. So it is very important to outsource that, but also understand that it takes time because I mean, we're still, consistently trying to see the benefits of SEO every single day.
And so, Kelsey, you do a lot of events for us. So, um, what is one thing I told you when you first started about potential patients not signing up for appointments? Do you remember?
It's all right if they don't sign up right then and there because I've been at the front desk when I've gotten a call from it was a mother of a patient who had wasn't a patient, it was a teacher at the time that we went to a school to, and she called and she was like, I saw you at this school, so I would love, my daughter recommended you, she saw you here, she told me about you, and then I threw my back out this week, so I'd love to come in and see you guys. So that's really important.
Yes, and if a potential patient at an event says no, that doesn't mean never.
Never, yeah.
So no doesn't mean never. And so when you do these events and you do grassroots marketing, just know that you are branding yourself and that this is a long-term game, a long end game, and you will, I promise, if you're consistent with it, you will reap the benefits that you sow years down the road.
You just have to plant the seeds, and even your mom, because I did a lot of events with Dr. Duncan's mom. She's fantastic when it comes to grassroots marketing and talking to people. Just focusing on the desire to educate the people in your community is really what you're doing it for, and then you'll get the benefit down the line. All right, so that is everything for part one. Dr. Duncan, anything with all of these tips and tricks that you else that you'd like to mention?
I don't think so. We've got a lot more to come in part two.
Yeah. All right, we'll see you in part two. Bye.
And that's a wrap on another episode of Million Dollar Chiro, the podcast. I hope you enjoyed diving into the world where chiropractic care meets successful practice management. I'm Dr. Mary Frances Duncan, your host. Remember, you can find all of our previous episodes, online courses, and details about personalized coaching with me on our website, milliondollarchiro.co.